Hello and welcome to this railway domain session as part of the buildingSMART International Standards Summit here in Lillestrøm 2023. This session is shared with infrastructure domain and you are very welcome. My name is John Perttula and I will be your moderator. Details of today's session and today's presenters are on the screen. We will be hearing from Konstantinos Kessoudis, from Joachim Kanis, and from Tiina Perttula. And as you can see, we will be talking all things bSDD and UCM. The session is scheduled to last 90 minutes, including time for questions at the end. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to Konstantinos to start us off, I'd like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For online attendees, your microphones will remain muted. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please use the comment box. I will prompt you for that during the session. And for everybody in the room, please keep background noise to a minimum. And if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please raise your hand and we'll use this microphone. I'd also like to remind you the information that is on the screen now, that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted, and the process for their adoption is transparent, and that standards that are developed do not favour any particular provider, but are open, non-binding and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct. I'm going to pass over to Konstantinos to start the session.
Thank you a lot. So, the title is why digitization is in construction needs a nationally and internationally coordinated strategy on digital cooperation. Yes, we heard it yesterday because all the digitalization we do by the moment, it's all about connectivity. It's all about working together. It's not best-in-class software. It's the best connectivity software. It's not only the best-in-class operator and doing a job best in class on a construction site, it's doing it all together. So we think that buildingSMART can deliver the main components for this collaboration. So my background is construction company, so I'm working more than 30 years in Strabag, major contractor, but also I'm in the steering board of steering committee of the construction domain, rail domain, and the use case management. And therefore, what I'm telling you is a little bit crossover domains. So I try to localize the topic about what we are talking about via the road level construction domain. So here you see also how the things are getting together. So this is how we started. Our old roadmap was like this. And here you see a lot of bullet points, important points about how to do collaboration. And I just try to focus on that. So what we see on the top is what we want to achieve. So the BIM workflow is the base for BIM on-site. So the idea is to have BIM workflow. So connecting most stakeholders during the life cycle, including the transitions from design to operation. So this is the goal we have. So what helps to connect is multiple user views and need for selected information. We have heterogeneous IT landscapes to be connected via web. It is the base for IoT, AI, and work together. So what we have also is the needed data sources. So they are being extended. So the need is to handle big data and to process semi-structured data. So have automated processes there. And if you look closer, so we already see that that word workflow and the BIM workflow, to our understanding, can be addressed perfectly well with use case management by buildingSMART. So buildingSMART use case management is addressing exactly this workflow, how it should be organized. So digital twins are also addressed there. So the digital twins are very interesting because of, to my understanding, there is not existing one digital twin, but there is digital twins according to use case. So it depends on what I'm going to do, what is my view on the data. So I need selection of this huge data to a digital twin for my purpose, and therefore also use cases would help for that. And of course, if we look on the last point there, smart cities. Yes, smart cities is the collection of all digital twins we do have in a context of georeference and a context of towns. So yesterday we heard also GIS is a very important component for getting all these views. And last but not least, of course, we have to discuss about API. And this is something also yesterday we have started this discussion with the software vendors. We said, yes, we are open. We want to be connected. And then we have to discuss that, I think, also very much in deep about what are the different stages of API. So stage one is retrieve information needed for a use case out of a system which I don't get directly. Maybe create information within the sending software and provide information into receiving software, which makes the information being really understood. So if an IFC wall is interpreted in every system correctly as a wall, we have a very big chance to get more processes connected. So let's dive just more into the future. So our new roadmap is addressing these identified items. And then here you see already that this is something which is going through all domains because of it's the base. So we need this connection. And what is here set up, what is here meant is the key elements for this industry standard agreements. If we really carefully this map, are use cases for the process handling. So what is the process management? What is the data management here described? And we need also strategy for connecting this data, so information handling on this side. So in the following slides now, I will focus directly on use cases and their management, because to my understanding at least, this is the major point of one of the major points of digitalization in the future of the whole construction industry. So what is a use case? A use case is all about communication, understand each other and implement. So sometimes we think we are talking about that, and the reality sometimes is about this. And this gap we should a bit close a little bit more. So what we need is a common understanding on shared processes. So what is everybody doing? So in advance, so everybody knows about what the other is doing, so we can connect our systems. So what is a use case? Per definition, a use case, per definition, by buildingSMART, is a process in which a project team develops BIMs of the existing conditions for a site, facility on site, or facilities on site. Definition from ISO 29481, a use case is a starting point of an IDM, so how to exchange information. And it describes the expected results of a process in the phase of planning, building, managing, which is executed digitally. This means this is our digital contract. So it augments our contract of design, build, and operate with the description about what you do there digital. In total, it is a use case is connecting a client's IT landscape with contractors or executing IT landscape. So these landscapes may be different, but they should be connected in the project, because of the project we meet every time. So my company is doing 16,000 projects per year. Every project is always with different partners. So every time we have to connect our landscape to 16,000 and 16,000 projects to 100,000 of different landscapes. The problem is the reality is somehow like that. So we don't have common definition, structure, language before we meet on a project. We meet on a project, then we discuss about, hey, and how we do that, and how you do that, how our system works, how you work, and then we do another project, calling AR or BEP, and we define that, and we do that. So we just do that. It's not, we can't do that, but it's a bit not very smooth, not very efficient, because the impact is each participant defines his own use case. By the moment, if we don't have the common language, how this will be connected. So we have use cases defined. If we meet another company, we see, oh, they have own use cases defined, and then we try to find out, and what's the common thing between them. So the use cases are still, at least in Germany, we have a discussion of use cases, which is on a very high level. So the clients are starting the use cases. I think in different countries, it's a different thing. But construction industry, where I come from, is really sleeping, because we haven't defined use cases with our subcontractors, even not, although we meet these guys every day. So this makes it difficult. So our company system has difficulties to be connected to, in every project, properly to the customer requirements. So we do that all by hand. So that result is the BIM on the construction side becomes very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. So what we could do better, maybe. So to my understanding, what we could do better is to define a structure. So what is the level of the clients? What does this guy expect? What is the level we do really on execution side? Do we need any level between? But please don't use 10 levels. So what is the minimum of levels we need to execute something? Reduce to the minimum is the best thing to make digitalization fast connectable and fast usable by all people. So all to the minimum. And then what is a use case? So it's a process, of course, and a process has an input and an output. And therefore we need digital services. And of course we have skills and roles, and then we make this in the middle, which is the put. So input, output, nobody cares about how you do that in the middle, but everybody cares about what should I deliver you, that you do that digital, and what will I get out that I can connect my process to that. So this is very easy. So it's like, it looks like IDF0. So everybody is a little bit familiar with schemas of how to plan digital or how to plan programs. So this is like looking like IDF0. So what we need for that is a common definition. Means we share the same definition about what we mean with data. So to make information out of data is that we share the same common definition. We use the same structure and the same syntax and semantics, and this is language. So if I would speak now English with a total different grammatics, it would be very difficult. Yesterday, somebody started to talk in German. I could start talking Greek, and nobody will understand me, maybe, if you don't know. So we need just a common language to be understandable between each others, but this thing is to connect machines to that. So the machines would use that even more than us. So the impact would be, okay, we have a custom breakdown to execution, somehow easier. So it's somehow like a recipe and a menu. So the client knows if he asks for something, how it will be done. It's a reproducible digital process, so we can do that on every side. Standardized, connectable to company solution landscapes, because our landscape is trained to fulfill this use cases already defined. So the process chain can be set up independently from the company size, and this is very, very important for the SMEs we want to get into the digitalization, because if SMEs with not too much manpower have always to adopt to one of these big construction companies like ours, they will not be able to do that. So they need something they can plug and play on every side, and they also have digital data they can use. So BIM is possible on construction side. So this will be the outcome to do so. So the summary and the context of why we need to define use cases per market. So in a fragmented industry like construction, a common agreement is necessary because of we need to define the contractual role, the responsibility and services of any participant to do so on every site. It's the base for planning and for contracts. So through years, we have already developed this set of definitions, how information between different parties is exchanged. Remember these famous 2D plans. So the 2D plans are not unstructured. You can't do in Japan, for example, because I've seen marvelous plans from Japan. You can't introduce a German plan into the Japanese market and expect that the people understand what you mean, because there is a definition about how you describe the information you are trying to pass to somebody, and it's described what is on this plan. So it's just a definition about how we exchange the information in paper. So also in calculations, estimates, schedules, and contracts, we have done already definitions, and therefore we can work seamlessly together by paper. So now this information is not fixed in every project again. It's fixed per market, so it's used in the market. So a reliable standard for setting up company project organization and their collaboration already exists. It's just about to translate that into digital. So in the digital collaboration, we do this definition by the moment, as I said earlier, on every single site, on every single project, newly by AERs and BEPs, BEP execution plan, and how we can expect that the different IT landscapes of the partners on a project being compatible just out of the box. We don't start also not to discuss the format of the brick on a construction site. We don't do a new brick format for every project size. So it's somehow the same thing. So my suggestions are, so using use case management we do have, thanks to the initiative of the Swiss chapter, and especially Thomas Gletli, that we do have that. But maybe we have to discuss about what is the quality we need on this use case management to be able to set up all the use cases in the right definition that we need. So what we need is a common concept. What is a use case? This is shared between us. Relationships between use cases because they are interrelated. So a set of use cases are all the works you do on a construction site. It's not one use case you do a lot of different. What you need is axioms and rules. Maybe some people will detect that ontology is meant in the background. So how we define things. Attributes and properties to describe the characteristics, and determination of common definitions and sets. So it's just about to know what is this use case and what we do mean all with that. So this defines why and what for a digital system to interact to achieve a goal. It's always to achieve a goal. So I get awarded as a construction company to build up the construction walls. So then I will choose the use case about that. So there's also bSDD also existing. So yeah, this we heard about that. This delivers building components, materials, systems, and attributes through all classification systems. Why not be linked? This is why I do something and I need data and we link to that. So what you have then in the end is a digital standard of trades and professions and industry. So this is the digital standards, how we work. What it is not, it's not how we work on the project. This is left to software, which will be done by other companies. But it is machine readable. It can be loaded, so through national feature servers. It can be loaded into IR, BEP software tools to make this process much more faster, to make it as a base for the contract at least. So it's for software easier to be configured already because these are the things I have to do with my software. So I can just start about thinking, having templates there. To configure CDEs, so why to reconfigure CDEs from the beginning, so it can be uploaded. And I can use, of course, IDS or API to transport the information I need. So my last slide, so and who should be that? Who is that owner to do that? To my understanding, what we need here to get the acceptance and the interest of the professional organizations, associations like architects, engineers, who are defining what is the role of an architect in the market, what to do already, but what is his digital role. I don't want to do that every time on a project between one contractor with one architect to start definition of what is your role, what is my role. Associations representing the trades, so construction industry, all other trades, market determining actors like railway associations, therefore we are here, infrastructure operators, they have a better starting point because they define their markets by themselves. So they could start easier to do that. So, of course, they will have a need for a defined and functional use case management platform. So they don't want to do that platform. It makes not sense for that everybody is doing his use case management platform and then try to combine these platforms again. So one platform, one standard platform would serve for all. Enabling creation and publishing of industry standards. And yes, connected to bSDD would be perfect because also the classification associations have a very big interest to see, and where is my data used for? Why I'm used for what I'm responsible. So these are the responsible guys for defining the data, the bSDD, the classifications, and these are the responsible guys to my understanding for defining how we use the data. And of course, this still is the field for the software industry. So, but it will apply. It will make it easier and applicable for software companies to make to read that automatically, machine readable, and to give us faster any combination within IT landscape of companies and projects to be connected. So then the single software can be connected better. To make an example maybe with a kitchen. So we all have detected that there is a recipe book. So everybody can buy a book where recipes are described, and everybody can cook it in his kitchen. The result is always the same. So you can eat it. If you do it properly, so you get the same meal in every kitchen. So this will be my slides. And may I hand over to the bSDD part.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Joachim Kanis from the Deutsche Bahn AG, the German railway company, and I'm member of the steering committee of the Railway Room. And therefore, I'm here for the Railway Room, and I'm not so much integrated into so much rooms as Konstantinos. So now we'll focus on the railway part of the Konstantinos' charts. He said a lot of things about the bSDD, and we in the Railway Room had a lot of ideas how we do proceed with the bSDD for the Railway Room. The bSDD is the online service hosting data dictionary for nearly every company. You can include classification properties, and most of all, you can link all these dictionaries together and make them related. So this is the big advantage we see in the bSDD. Right now, every railway company has own specifications, own classifications, own properties, and now we have to link them together to use the full potential of this digitalization. So we want to go 2 steps with the bSDD. The first step has started right now in August. We as the Deutsche Bahn Group are trying to import the classification and properties out of our software BIMQ into the bSDD and link those objects and properties to the IFC standard. After we've done this, we want to extend these steps to the other railway companies. And after they did this, the most use is in the step 2, the syncing process. We will think those dictionaries together. So if every company, every railway company who's joining us has their own classifications and properties bring into the bSDD, and link them to the IFC standard, we can much better think our company standards together. And last of all, and nearly most important, is the creating connection to the use case management to use the full advantage to Konstantinos' ideas. So we have to change the slides to the next.
Yeah, we will. Thank you, Joachim and Konstantinos. We're going to pass over to Tiina Perttula from Infrastructure Domain Steering Committee Chair. But I'll just swap over the slide pack, Tiina.
Yes, thanks. And while we are waiting the slides, actually FTIA, the Finnish Transport Infrastructure Agency, has put already some rail content in bSDD in this testing or piloting the bSDD, but they are in the test environment, not the kind of the bSDD what's there available. So maybe you should connect to them. Yes, and tomorrow we will have actually one presentation during the bSDD session. So it's the second session tomorrow, where we'll also go a little bit deeper about these different examples of testing. So my name is Tiina Perttula. I'm the chair of the infrastructure domain. But I'm also be part of this bSDD testing in Finland together with the FTIA, and FTIA is the Finnish Transport Infrastructure Agency, and they are responsible for the road and waterways and the railways in Finland. So we don't have separate organization for the road and rails. So that's why it fits nicely to be in the joint presented into this joint session. And on behalf of the infra domain, this bSDD use case management and all the tools and services inside BSI is very crucial. And that's why I see very fruitful to maybe join our forces together with the railway domain, because I think those questions are same for each of the domains. And I'm really looking forward to have the maybe cross-domain collaboration in the future. But this presentation is made by Jenna Ikonen and Teija Kantojärvi, but unfortunately they couldn't be here today. They are from FTIA, so they are co-creators in this presentation, which I'm going to give. But shortly about this BIM objectives in a nutshell, what FTIA has written down in their strategy is the BIM is an integrated part of the asset life cycle from design to asset management. So kind of in the early design phase even, because the digital asset is assets as the physical assets. The BIM-based data transfer is enabled for the life cycle of the asset. And then it's the real-time asset management and digital twin used by 2030. And there is one kind of a member from FTIA who is working with this digital twin. So he is here today. So Matti, maybe you could wave your hand if you are here somewhere. Yes, you are there. So if you need any questions related to digital twin in FTIA, then Matti is the right person to answer to those questions. And then there is this object metadata is enrichable, high quality, machine readable and real time. And especially the machine readable is a key word here when we are when FTIA was testing the bSDD or the possibilities in bSDD. But then the reality at the moment is, of course, that a lot of PDFs are still used, and planning is kind of the PDFs are the legal documentation, although the models are widely used, especially when hand over the detailed design phase to construction phase and during the construction phase. But the model-based process doesn't cover the whole life cycle. A lot of manual work, different files transferred and copied to different repositories. So it's kind of file-based information exchange. Even though the bSDD, or the idea behind the bSDD, is enrich the IFC file, there is also possibilities, of course, to enrich any kind of information with the content inside bSDD. So even though sometimes the end deliverable could be Excel file, for example, you can kind of produce the Excel by using the data coming through the bSDD. Then the instruction and manuals, they are normally PDFs, and FTIA is quite a large organization in Finland, so they do have a lot of different type of guidelines. I think the total number of the guidelines is over 500, and they have many guidelines from the design phases, and of course in the construction phases, then the guidelines for the quality checking. And it's embedded in those guidelines, the different maybe tables, for example, the allowed materials for different layers of the road, for example, and all that information is already kind of predefined, but then it needs to be manually attached to the data that needs to produce during the design phase. And then, as I mentioned, FTIA is currently defining the digital twin in their own processes. And the status of the current asset management systems, they don't read open BIM formats directly. So some of these readers you need to have in between the kind of maybe project portal where you have the information, and between the asset management register to pull out the right information to the asset management databases. So in this presentation, the user is FTIA, so the owner organization. So these are the aspects that what they need to think of if they want to implement the kind of the tools or the services like bSDD. And of course, in this FTIA kind of roadmap to digitalization, IFC plays a crucial role. But then the reality in the project, this is in Finnish, but I think that you can see that it's very busy slides. So in the middle, there is the one guy. He is actually a project manager in FTIA doing the large rail project. And there is a lot of different type of demands coming all over the organization. And he needs to make sure that he is kind of, the projects are done according to those requirements. And then there is a lot of different databases that they need to pull out the data. It could be the existing data, or it could be the project data. And the project data, for example, from the previous project phases, it's not always maybe documented as good as possible. But then if you start to think about the bSDD process in FTIA, the text is really small. It's not even the idea that you should be able to read, but the lanes are the different roles. So here is FTIA, then there is the designer, then contractor. So what's the role they are playing in this big picture when FTIA started to do the process mapping of if kind of bSDD could be part of the process that they are, how they delivered the large design and construction projects. And also there is a lot of thinking about how these different asset management systems works together. If the data is kind of, if bSDD is the one tool that helps to create and enrich the data, but also the other way around, if those requirements partly are coming from these asset management register. So what data they required to the asset management register in order to operate and maintain the railway or the road for the whole life cycle. So it's not a kind of, it's easy to say that maybe we just need to take bSDD into use, because then it immediately kind of the snowball effect starts, and then you need to consider quite many other aspects of that as well. And then we start with this familiar process map. It's in the BSI website, for example. And we were focusing of this bSDD part of the process map actually, but these yellow boxes here, and it was very well presented in the earlier today about the use case management, that which organization is the one who maintain these use cases and what use cases are the one that are common, for example, for every rail or road project. Because I know when we start to create IFC 4.3 in the beginning, there was that it should support some of these use cases like quantity takeoff, visualization, but they are quite high level use cases. So then when you need to kind of chop them a smaller pieces, so which is then the correct level of the use case. And then there is this yellow box, the IDS, so information delivery specification. And for example, in the previous infra-domain session, we get a good example, for example, the work that ASTO has been doing in US with these IDS. But this is also something that we don't have information enough, and it's in the candidate standard state. So kind of this yellow box is how they will influence to this whole process. We need to investigate more. But then the kind of the vision in FTIA in a nutshell is that they do have the asset management system. They do have the two separate systems, so one for the road and one for the rail. And actually what they did was that they pull out the information that it's needed to those asset management systems, and they create the domains inside the bSDD. So one domain for the road and one domain for the rail, and go and did the mapping with the tools provided, for example, to map the IFC 4.3 version to those requirements, what they have for the specific object in the register with the specific data requirements and the semantics and the information. Maybe they have allowed values for some of the information. So all of that they put into the bSDD. Then the idea, and we have been testing now the software capabilities, because then there is a construction project or the planning project, and they need to use the content what FTIA has now provided to the bSDD, and this is just a pilot phase. So no real project has been executed using the data inside the bSDD, and all the data is now in the bSDD test environment. Maybe Artur, you could tell more about this test environment versus the real environment. I don't know how the real environment is called, but the difference is maybe if you could say a few words about it.
Well, yeah, we have the test environment, which is like exact copy of the bSDD, but it's a separate database. And it was mostly made for testing new features of bSDD, like if we add a new attribute or if you add some new API calls, it was for testing that. But some organizations tested also the content there. But the production environment, which is the actual bSDD, is exactly the same. So it's simple it's easy to just migrate to production. Yes.
It's easy to transfer then when it's kind of ready.
Yes, it's the same format. So you just,
and the test environment is open, so you can find it also, the link. So go to see, there is a lot of content in test environment already.
Yes, but now we also encourage everyone to use the production, even if they want to test, because it allows to have this preview status so that people are aware this is not the content to be used in contractual agreements. It's just for testing, but it can be hosted in the production so that all of the softwares can also see it.
Yeah, good addition. Then the FTIA, they also have tools for the project portal, which includes the BIM tool. So it's kind of the viewer, but there is also the task and etc. But mainly I see this part, the planning project, construction project, and the project portal. So they are kind of the project information model environment. So BIM environment, if you think about the ISO 19650. But then of course there should be some ideas for the planning phase and ideas for the construction phase, because the content here is the kind of content that partly it can be produced already when doing the planning work, and then it's the idea that a contractor then enrich the data with the content. For example, if they do have some specific material use, so then they just fill in the material information. So they use the same kind of object information, but with IDS we can demonstrate or show them that which part of the content is their responsibility to produce. Then when the project is done, so these boxes are mainly for the BIM phase, so when you have actually the project, but then when the project is done, it needs to be transferred to this project document management system called Velho. So kind of I would not say that it's kind of the archive, but it's kind of the archive because this project is kind of active project. And then when this is kind of the place where you have the project information between the project, because sometimes the project life cycle can be quite long. You have for example, the early design phase, and then it could take a few years, then it moved forward to detailed design phase and etc. So kind of the place where you have all the information gathered. And then they have been thinking of that maybe they should have also the ideas how to pull out the information from this portal to be kind of read the right information to back to the asset management systems again. And then there is the converter tool called GeoVite, and it could be converted for the IFC models as well in the future. But there's a lot of things that need to take into the consideration in the user kind of aspects. If like I would like to highlight that in this case, the user is the owner organization. Then some findings from the FTIA's perspective as an owner organization. So kind of there is a huge need to develop the data and information delivery requirement management process, and especially the process in the design and construction phase. So bSDD is a good tool because it's kind of forced to collect the instruction, technical documentation, asset information management requirements in machine readable format, and then it creates a good framework for the development work in the future as well. And then the bSDD links data contents quite nicely. We have been testing also in bSDD environment the classification systems in Finland. So then you can attach different domains. So we have the classification domains and then the domains for asset management in the bSDD. So it's easy to link this type of requirements. And then kind of the question from FTIA's perspective is the version management. So kind of they need to know what technical documentation was valid 2 years ago. So maybe there has become new material because, for example, the circular economy, which is allowed nowadays, but it wasn't allowed 2 years ago. So someone needs to maintain this information, and bSDD is seen as a distribution channel for information. So this is still the task for the organization itself. And then it's these technical questions that they need to update the APIs and the data models in the asset management system also. So kind of to be aligned with the kind of requirements coming and the new requirements coming, for example, through the IFC. And as they found out that bSDD is just part of the process, so it's the distribution channel. So the process of requirement management is very crucial. So it's not up to the IT department decide what's the requirements. It's normally coming through some domain expert. They know, for example, the road layer or the structures or the geotechnical questions or the kind of demand for specific type of material. So all those allowed values, allowed material, and those needs to be coming from the a real domain expert. So kind of who is then kind of the person or the group of persons who are constantly monitoring the processes and see that if there is need to change some maybe allowed values, for example. And then also a kind of the new role inside the FTIA is this information management manager coordinator. So that's kind of the maybe the domain person who is the key contact between the business and the information levels in specific information categories. So it's kind of many kind of requires quite many level thinking inside the organization. And then some findings from FTIA's perspective as well is the IFC implementation. So of course we need guidelines for applying in national and organizational level. And there has been a good presentation today, and the roadmap for example, under the infra domain is also focusing for this, that what guidelines we should produce for the users, how to implement IFC. Also, FTIA wants to highlight the cooperation between the rail and road domains, maybe including also the waterways, because they are responsible for each of these domains. And then hopefully have some common process and instruction through differences in asset management system, but also maybe this goes all the way to the use case management. So what type of maybe common use cases we might have, these cross-domain use cases. Also, some good things when they were testing the bSDD was that it's the possibilities to enrich the data, also maybe testing the new workflows. So how to use, for example, Akka software type of tools, because normally designers use the design tools to create the data. It's mainly, at least in some cases, it's mainly for design the geometry, because geometry of course plays important role. But then if we want to really have the content, the data semantics to the geometric model, then bSDD could be a good possibility for that. And also the language version that bSDD allows to create, for example, Finnish is kind of the language that only people who lived in Finland speaks. So then, for example, we create some language version in English, so it's easier the multi-language teams to deliver, because of course we use nowadays a lot of designers from different countries, especially if some of the design work is something that the expertise is not, we don't have competence enough inside Finland. So this really is then the work for these teams, and I see that in the near future the teams will become even more multi-language than they are nowadays. And what needs further investigation? It's of course the standardization of IFC property sets, in what level of international standardization should be done, and what needs to be done on national or even at organizational level, because we cannot standardize everything in the international level. So in which level then we should stay when we do the international standardization, and how deep the organization can go with the harmonization, the property sets, for example. And then the role of IDS together with bSDD. So as I mentioned, more research is definitely needed, and I hope that we can do it together as two domains, and even more domains will join. And the use case management. So what are these kind of common international use cases that we should put to the use case management tool, and kind of then continue build up maybe more detailed use cases in top of those common use cases if needed. And I hope that we could have a very fruitful conversation after the presentation today about these topics. So this was a short presentation about the user experience when FTIA has been testing the bSDD. And now, John, if you can...
We're going to swap slide packs?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much,
Tiina.
Tiina.
So now I'm really hoping to have a good conversation from the audience. And question about this, how we can collaborate with these topics in the future, hopefully near future, together between the two domains at least. Yes.
Thank you. I'm Ken from the construction domain. So yeah, I know the Konstantinos very well. And then I heard his presentation about UCM. And then I'm thinking about if it is internal system or not is very important. And then firstly, the company wants to manage their use case internally. And then it includes all the documents and then some picture or some kind of the inspection, and then also the BIM data. But in this society, BSI, also try to find out what's the common data for the UCM. So its target is very different. So we should think two ways. One is for internal, the UCM system, and one another is common, the UCM system. And then so it's kind of the knowledge management system. And then we tried many times internally in our company, but it's okay internally. But if including our co-working company, subcontractor company, some information is restricted. So we cannot open all the data to outside. So that's kind of the border we should think about, is my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Thomas Glattli. I'm responsible for the use case management. Yeah, I guess we have to distinguish between what is the common ground, what is the common understanding of a use case, which should be shared between the whole community, and what is a project. And the project is clearly not the target or the aim of the use case management, because the use case management does not handle project data. The use case management is here to give you a common understanding how the process looks like and how the exchange requirements of the different of the use cases is. And this is always a foundation, gives you a clear view what a use case should include. But then you have to take it and put it into your systems and execute a project with that. So it's not a project execution system, actually, the use case management.
Do you have any further ideas about in which level we should build up these common use cases? For example, the quantity takeoff type of use cases, everybody are mentioning those, but yes, if you could continue.
Thomas again.
I ask a question myself.
Here we go, Thomas.
So for me, this is the important role of the domains. Actually, in the domains, you should really create a common understanding of use cases. And the other thing is, Kostas mentioned that the associations are also the key drivers. So a use case should not be something specific from one or two persons or one or two companies, but it should be really a common agreement in the industry. And this is actually the level what we like to achieve. So bring the right people together, make kind of a pre-standard out of it. Of course, it's never a standard, so that this is responsibility of other people. But I think if an association or a domain really creates a use case on a broad view together, maybe also with other domains, here quantity takeoff will be a very good example for that, to do that across different domains, then we have an excellent understanding of a use case.
And what if we finally agree that what could be the use case for quantity takeoff, and then create the use case with the use case management tool, and it's there? Who is then maintaining the use cases, or is it there forever, or how does this work? I'm just
Yeah.
asking the questions because I don't know.
No, that's a very valid question. I think a good use case should always have an owner. So if you create a use case in a group and the group will split after the project, then the use case stands here and there's no use anymore. So therefore, a domain or an association which really stays a long term together should be the owner of a use case, because a use case is, of course, a best practice example. So you take together the best practice, the experience of all the experts, create the use case, and maybe 1 year later you gain more experience, and then you should maybe update this use case. So therefore, yes, a domain or an association would be the perfect owner for that.
Any more questions from audience? Okay, good. Ken?
Thank you. I'm thinking, and then I feel there are two types of use cases, and one is some kind of the technical experiment use case. So it means there's new technologies such like the IDS, and then someone apply to the technology to the project. So it's like studying mathematics. You study firstly the theory, and then try some quiz. So firstly we learn ideas, and then try to adapt it to the project. So what we are doing is the experiment, new technology to the project. So that kind of the use case sharing management is very easy. But if we count the productivity, unit productivity in the construction, well, that kind of the big data, we cannot open to the public. So I think it's here in the BSI, the technical experiment UCM, it's the buildingSMART award has that kind of role. So we know the new technology and applying, and then submit what we did in our project. So I think award is a very good kind of use case management. Thank you.
This is like tennis game.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Maybe you have seen, if you would go to the use case management platform, we put some awards already on the platform. Yes, this could be a very good format to also supply or submit the awards. This is the one thing. And the other thing, I think we have also to clearly define the maturity grade of a use case. Of course, yes, you can do some experimental use cases where you say this would be a very nice idea. Should we try? And we have other use cases. Let's take again quantity setup. This is of a high maturity, so executed in many projects. So therefore, a quality rating and the maturity rating in the use case management is crucial. Maybe if you have the chance, tomorrow morning, 9:30, we have a use case management session exactly about this topic, where we say how to rate a quality, what is needed. And maybe one of the criteria would be maturity, where you say, okay, is this brand new, never tested? Or did I already execute hundreds of projects and I know exactly what I need? So these are the quality ratings we now will introduce or start to introduce in the use case management.
So more questions from the audience?
I'm not sure how this question should be handled, but in the work we did in developing the roadmap for the infra room, one of the ideas that came out of one of the workshops quite early on was a suggestion, and I, for some reason, got given the task of sort of fleshing it out, and I wasn't quite sure how to flesh it out. But it was the idea that it would be useful to have what I describe as a high-level kind of use case that captures at a sort of high conceptual level the kinds of use cases relevant for infrastructure. And I'm not quite sure what that actually means, but I'm just be interested to hear some dialogue from this group as to whether that's a useful thing to have. Is this concept of a all-embracing use case that becomes a template, if you like, for a lot of individual, more specifically focused use cases to apply particular uses? If that makes sense. I wasn't sure whether it was a good idea or not, but it's one of our activities, and I'm not quite sure how to progress it. I'm interested to get some discussion on it, because this seems to be the good forum to do it.
Yes, it's good that you've raised that, because I think that, for example, the diagram which has these yellow boxes, and it should start with a use case. So then I think that it's the waste of resources of if each organization independently defined, for example, use case for this quite high level, like the quantity takeoff is a good example. So then if we have 50 quantity takeoff use cases, so it could be other way around, and then we just harmonize those. So everybody just independently produce those, and then we try to harmonize. But you exactly nailed the point here, that how should it be done?
I think the platform is also not the solution for all. It starts. It is a very good platform where you can discuss about what is the minimum of use cases you need to describe work per market or per country or per trade. To give an example for this famous use case about model-based estimation. Model-based estimation could be easy, and is handled in Germany because of we have done a solution in our company where we can do model-based estimations based on our own models faster rather than by hand. So what we do is we do a model, we do an estimation, we have a price. This works perfectly well. It's much more faster than before. Thousands of people trained, and then we have clients coming up with, this is my thought of breakdown of the quantities. So I would like to have it like this, and then our system don't work. So our system is trained to give you a price with our defined structure, with being fed by the models, data models, giving the right information there with the quality gates and all that stuff. It's just automatically. Austria, by the moment. So in Germany, it's a big discussion because everybody is doing these models as he thinks they should be and delivers them, and then the next one don't know what to do with that. Austria, on the other side, has the luxury that they have a breakdown, a quantity breakdown national-wise, and it's pursued that all people use the same. And they have now a project where they do the model-based quantity takeoff in Austria for this standard. And if this is now nearly to be finalized, at the end they have a definition of a model everybody can use in their country, and the next one to make a model out of make a price out of that can do that automatically. So if the Germans start on the use case management platform defining 10, 20 use cases how model-based quantity should be, I think in very few time they will detect that, hey, I can minimize that. And this is the effect. It's not about giving the solution, but giving the people the platform to discuss, so that they will detect, oh, this is the minimum variation of use cases I really need to reflect my market, and all the people will be happy. Does that answer your question? In part, yes, certainly does. To you then, so how does the use case management system support that kind of activity? Can you? I'm not quite clear about how you, once you have a use case defined in there, whether people can come in and kind of extend it in different ways, or do you download it and then reload it as a totally different use case? How does it manage those related use cases?
Thomas is going to answer.
Okay, yeah. There are different possibilities. So we can connect use cases to each other. So one good example, for example, is georeferencing. So I think we have 3 or 4 georeferencing use cases already in the platform. And if we see that there are many different countries or organizations are basically defining the very same use case in a different way, of course, because they come from another point, then it may be a good idea to bring that to buildingSMART International into a domain or on a certain project and say, hey, why do we not define one global use case for georeferencing, for example? Because so many different organizations did that already. There's a lot of brain power in, and you see that they are here. It would be worse to do that. So this is what we can actually provide from the use case management. You get the transparency in the different regions, different countries, what is happening. And the other thing is vice versa. I mean, you say, okay, I need to define a referencing use case. Then you go to the use case management. You see, oh, there are already 4 use cases here. I can learn from these use cases and make my specific use case if needed. So this is it's all about transparency, what is happening in the worldwide market. And therefore, of course, it would be nice to have all the chapters uploading or creating the use cases to the platform, that you get this transparency. Because I think we have thousands of use cases available, but nobody knows from each other. And if they would be available on the platform, and if we have a good tagging or even AI with judging these use cases, then we could better learn from each other, do more efficient work.
So is there sort of a mechanism which allows you to conflate sort of those half dozen use cases into one kind of super use case that replaces them, or do they just all sit side by side? I mean,
we can mark them today, but of course, if we see we have really a lot of use cases, then we have to update the system a little more to be more smart.
I have a question from the floor.
Yeah, sure. Just because it will be probably a reminder, just for the current discussion, could you give us a summary? Followed in other occasions, but just for the current discussion, which is the business model behind the use case management tool, especially for the chapters? I mean, if we want to talk with these potential new use cases, you know, because we are talking here about how technically we can, once we are there, but what about all of those potential use cases that are still not there? And they don't know that exists. We can tell them, but we need to tell them how it works in terms of accessibility, you know. So just as a summary, if it's the right place to talk about this.
Maybe you should come here.
Do you want to come to the front, Thomas? Yeah, why don't you come and join us at the front? Come and join Tiina. Then I won't have to jump around quite as much.
Join me in stage.
Thomas is going to come and join us.
Okay. Hello. Yeah, basically there is not a large business model behind it. If you want to work with a platform, it's a kind of attendance system. So for a chapter can buy attendant, has a certain price tag on it. And then you can basically work with the use case management, do their own administration, create the use cases, publish the use cases. You're completely independent actually from myself or for the PMO from the use case management. And as a chapter, you get the possibility to resell the use case management. You can say, okay, I have an association, I have other companies, they want to work in the use case management. So you have the possibility to make a price tag on that, up to you, whatever you can achieve. Resell actually this one, and there are 2 possibilities. One is the possibility, we call it enterprise account. You say, I have an association, they wanted to create 5 use cases. You can support that from the chapter and say, okay, I do the administration, project setup, and so on, because these are only 5 use cases. is a certain price tag. Or you can say, okay, let's create a tenant for this association, train them that they can run independently as an own tenant. The only thing you have to do is of course, there will be a certain reimbursement to our organization and to BSI. So it's just kind of a small business system behind.
It's on the screen behind you now. The use case management system, or example of the use cases in
Yeah.
Yeah, but then maybe the question, what was the initiative for this session, was this cross-domain collaboration between, for example, rail and infra, and maybe construction domain and airport could be interested in. It's really hard to now kind of establish the cross-domain collaboration kind of within these topics. So then who should take the responsibility of this? Because it's not the responsibility of individual domain itself. So how to organize it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
There's a need for an ownership in terms of course, a use case needs an owner, but there's also the need for a container for that use case, So it's like, it could be even separate things. Who is maintaining the container and who is maintaining the use case. So from that business model, I think that you have described it very well, but how we can go crosswise with all these different use cases if those use cases probably come from different parts of the world, it's quite complex, and probably we need to go deeper into this kind of discussion, right?
Yeah, I think this is recognized, and what I mentioned before, we intend to really introduce a quality rating with certain criteria. And for me, one of the main criteria to rate quality is really, do I have an owner? Can I address a person when I have an issue on a use case? When I say, okay, I'm not, I don't agree to this use case, or I propose an extension of this use case, then I have to find the organization and the person. And this is a part, you don't see it here, of the identification part of the metadata of a use case, where I say, okay, yes, this person is still here. And then actually it's the responsibility of any other organization to say, okay, let's go to this organization, discuss this use case.
For example, because this is that case that you mentioned about the georeference, imagine that that's the case, that we, as bildingSMART International, identify that, well, we have already 4 cases, and maybe this could be something more, not consistent, more unified, let's say. So imagine that you go through that and you finally get an outcome from that, So who is the owner then? Because there were 4 initial, suppliers.
Yeah.
And we don't have the answers yet for that case, but I think it's something.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think this is nothing use case specific. It's always organization specific. Yeah. Do I find an owner? And we have a beautiful organization here called bildingSMART International. I mean, if we have 5 use cases of the similar topic, then bring that to domains or with a project proposal. Actually, that should be discussed. And of course, if nobody raises the hand, then nothing will happen. So you need an owner, or you need a person or a company or an organization who says, yes, I'm interested to do that. And then it will happen. Otherwise, it will not happen.
Could the domains itself be the big owners for that? I don't know. Just
yeah, I hope so. So I think it would be a very good way that domains are the owner of use cases for a global level. And then, of course, you have the association should be the owner in a country, for example. And if you have 5 countries with the association who works together, then you create a perfect standardized use case.
So at the moment, Thomas, as we can see on the list, that's just the homepage, as I'm sure you're familiar, some of the recent use cases that have been added. The owners seem to be chapters within national countries or regions, or in some cases, organizations.
Some organizations. We have also a project like EU Horizon project is also publishing some use cases. So these are organizations, yes. And within the rating, of course, problem, for example, EU Horizon project will end one day. Then we have to discuss, is there still an owner in the future? Yes or no? If there is a no, then we will rate on a lower level and say, okay, no owner again. And then maybe we're going to say, okay, this will be shifted to the archive in the future, because we say, okay, after 1 year or after 2 years without update, the use case may not be valid anymore.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other comments, thoughts or questions from anyone here today? Konstantinos would like to talk.
I have a question to all of you. Because of the use case management is quite new, so we are just on development. And I think that all of you are also in a role in your country, in any association, whatever. I would like to ask you to take this discussion with you into as the associations to be discussed, how we do organize that. I studied that in Germany, so where I've been internationally in ENCORD, in FIEC, the representatives of the construction industry in Europe, where I discussed that, do we need use cases? And all the people said, yes, we need use cases. And then we started to discuss whether it's clever to publish that use cases as construction industry would be helpful, because that it would show up that the construction industry is facing the digitalization. But then we discovered that it's somehow difficult to discuss our use cases with the architects, because we have interactions, or we have to discuss our use cases with suppliers. So why we do that? So therefore, we thought about that. Maybe it's good to support the use case management of buildingSMART, to be the platform of this discussion, to get all associations on board on this platform to have this fruitful discussion between each other, because I don't know any super associations where all the associations who defines how we work together are really talking on a not only on a political stage, but also on a practical stage. So how we do repart our work, how we do describe our digital responsibility, so we can rely on. So therefore, I would like to ask you to start this discussion in your countries, in your environment, and then come back. So it's just a start. It's not the end of use case management.
Yes, I think that we are shortly running out of the time, but just Winfried as a chair of the railway domain and myself as a chair of the infra domain, I'm not now kind of, maybe this should be a topic for the coming summits as well, kind of to continue this collaboration, which now has maybe officially started during this kind of session, maybe because the challenge is same, and I really like the idea that this is something that each of us should take as a takeaway from this session and have the conversation in their own maybe national organization, but also inside the domains. And of course, we continue the conversation in the infra domain, and this has been highlighted one of the hopeful, the future working groups, at least under the infra domain, that we really need to pay attention to this. But Winfried, do you wish to say something here as a closing?
Again, famous last words. Yeah. Yeah, okay, it's you to have the famous last words. For me, only thank you very much for your contribution and the discussion. And I think that's what I'm trying to bring on the table the last years in the summits. I think it's not a shared joint session between infrastructure and rail room. It's a topic for all of us, for all domains, and it's needed to bring that also in the organization of the summits, I think. Yeah, so that we have one session, one stream, one topic, use case management, for instance. That is, I think, really it's needed because there is a lot of discussion potential and solution potential there. So I think that should be cross-domain topic and not only a joint session. Okay, so thank you very much.
Yep, thanks very much, Winfried. Jim, you want to make a comment, please do.
So I'm going to complicate it a little bit. I wear another hat, which is chair of the ISO Working Group 8, which is the committee responsible for the IDM suite of standards. And we're about to propose that we need to do a review of part 1 of that standard. And as I understand, the use case management system is based on IDM principles. So are you the man to talk to and to collaborate with on that? Yeah, okay. So we need to make sure we talk. Thanks.
Well, then I guess that session will stop now. So I would like to thank the audience and the presenters and all who has contributed to the conversation today. It was very fruitful conversation, and we definitely need to continue where this conversation ends. So no solution or conclusion, but the work still to continue with. Thank you all.